welcome to episode 34 of our unofficial SAP on Azure Video Podcast. Today is March 26th, and together with Robert and Goran, we're here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hi there.
So, as mentioned last week, where Goran walked us through the Runbooks and talked about how to automate several SAP operations, today we want to take a look at the front end. For this, we have Martin Pankraz again on the show, and I'm looking forward to hear his insights on the development and usage of the Power App. As always, before we switch over to him, let's take a quick look at the news from this week, and here we go. So the first block that I want to talk about is this work trend index that was published, I think a few days ago by Microsoft, and I think it's a really interesting block with lots of very interesting data in it that talks about, the hybrid work. So obviously, hopefully at some point in time, the pandemic will end and we'll probably go back to the office, at least some of us. And here, this blog describes or highlights some interesting insights that happened in the last few months, basically. So it depicts a few trends, or it has identified a few trends. Flexible work is here to stay. Leaders are out of touch with employees. High productivity is masking exhausted workflows and so on. So it gives a nice overview of these of some of the topics that are obviously currently very relevant to the corporations here. I think it provides some good insights. It has some nice data. Obviously, also data that we collect from Teams usage, from email usage. Like here in this chart, you can nicely see how over the time starting from February 2020 till today, how the meeting or number of meetings or duration of the meetings has increased, how chat has increased, and so on. So I think
40 billion more emails. I wonder how many of those have been read by now.
I have lots of unread emails in my inbox. No, but exactly. I think this is really there are really some very interesting insights. Generation Z, how this impacts them in a very important way. So it's really interesting. They also talk about, we quickly discussed this before the show, about New Zealand, and because obviously in New Zealand the whole pandemic is much better under control in the meantime compared to the rest of the world, I would say. And there you can already see how a post-pandemic world without lockdown restrictions might look like in the future. So again, I think it's a great blog with lots of very detailed information, lots of numbers, obviously. So I think it's definitely worth to check it out. There's also actually, here you can also download the information if you want to have it offline or reuse in presentations or something like that. Okay, the next thing is an announcement that was just released yesterday. So I guess some of you or most of you are aware of the Azure Security Center, and now we're adding more and more functionalities in these Azure Security Center. So security benchmarks are now available, and I think what is really nice about the Security Center is that you get recommendations, that you get insights on how you can improve the security of your infrastructure that you have running on Azure. So, I mean, if you have a simple virtual machine, there might be recommendations on enabling just-in-time access and stuff like that. There might be recommendations about ports that are open and stuff like that. So this the additional information that is now available in the Security Center now talks also about official requirements, regulations that are maybe needed for certain compliance requirements and stuff like that. So I think this is a really nice one-stop place where you can get more insights on what you might need to do with your installations on Azure.
Do we also have an example where there's the remediation button? Because with some of those entries, it's a one-click solve. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
Just-in-time access. Right. Okay. Let's do it. You click on it, and then either you navigate to the UI where you can apply it, or it's done right on the spot. Yeah?
You're right. You're right. And I like this myself, actually. So if just, for example, this just-in-time access, you get the warning, and then you have this insight to action. You get the warning, you can click a button, and then you're redirected, or it's done automatically for you, so that you can actually activate these functionalities. So pretty cool. Okay. The next thing, I think we talked about the video, the presentation already during or right after Ignite, but still I think the session from Mark Rusinovich is a very insightful session there. There are a lot of announcements, there's a lot of vision stuff in there as well. And now, yeah, he posted an additional summary or whatever of his session. So if you have not yet watched it, it's like 1.5 hours or so. I think it's definitely worth spending some time on this session again. Good, then going on to a next block. I think, Goran, you also brought this up. It's about using SAP Virtual Host Names with Windows on Microsoft Azure.
Yeah, generally, virtual host name are used in HA context because you would move them from one OS to another one. But in generally, they also seem quite popular between the basis admins, because if they would decide to migrate their environment from one server to another one, even so, it's not just the central services, but even the app servers. They want to keep those configuration the same inside of the SAP. So inside of the SAP, the profiles are using the host name. Those host name are also written inside of the profiles as well. So even not the IP addresses. So typically, if you already pre-configured them, and if you can move them from one OS to another OS, for them life is much more easier. So this is what they are doing on the on-premises, but this is also very nicely described how to extend already existing way of doing, and there's an SAP note as well there, how to do it in the Azure, basically. Mm-hmm. So in Azure, you would just need, also add that IP address on the Azure portal as well, and then typically then you would need to reconfigure it inside. Otherwise it's DHCP, but here's a bit exception. Very nice, documented from end to end how to install the SAP, and with screenshots with Azure specific part, with referring to existing nodes, so customer can fully use it to run it. Currently, I think it's just one network card you have to use and put 2 or more IP addresses. This is what is officially from SAP side and generally supported because they test this scenario. So cool. Nice. I think it will be useful for many basis admins.
Cool, great. Okay, moving along. Robert, who was also in the podcast last week when we talked about the runbooks and everything. He has published a new blog post about using Azure CDN for SAP UI5 libraries. I think it's a very nice, again, very detailed blog post on this scenario. And he also, exactly here, he also outlines why would you do this? Of course, if you are an Azure customer, if you are already using a lot of Azure functionalities, then I think this is probably a no-brainer. But he also outlines, well, even if you're not yet an Azure customer, apparently I didn't know that, you are only allowed to use SAP's CDN for cloud-based services, so SAP Cloud Platform, or I guess Business Technology Platform, S/4HANA Cloud, and so on, but not for your on-premises scenarios. And obviously, if you are not yet using any of these services, then you might still need or want a CDN, and that's exactly one of the scenarios, I guess, where Azure CDN and the documentation that Robert has created here might come in really, really helpful. So I think, yeah, again, if you are using your SAP system on-prem and not using one of these solutions, or whether you're already using a lot of Azure services, then I think this is definitely worth a read, I would say. Okay, then the next thing is another customer success story. And I think we had talked about Schmitz-Cargobull before. They started their Azure cloud journey by a simple lift and shift. So they just migrated their SAP system from on-prem into Azure. I mean, that alone was a really, really beautiful story, because they did this in a really record time, I would say, with all their SAP systems, with the amount of the SAP systems. So that alone was a very good result. But what I also really love about this story is that they embrace this SAP on Azure scenario, and they really building on top of this now. So here on the list, on the site, you can really see now a lot of other services that they are embracing. And apparently what they're now doing, so most of their trailers that they now ship, they are equipped with IoT sensors and devices. So now each and every of these trailers sends telemetry data to Azure, and then they're using this information to provide insights also for their customers, so that their customers can see what's happening with their trailers, where they are. And I mean, there's lots of information here on what exactly it is that they collect and they make available for their customers. But I think it's just a really nice showcase of, well, let's make the first step. Let's use the infrastructure components of Azure to run your SAP system, but then let's innovate and look for additional use cases that are possible. So I think it's definitely worth reading through this success story as well. Then quickly to something completely different and probably much more German related, but since I have actually 3 kids going to school and everything, I very much like this new initiative that is happening between, I would say, mainly Microsoft, SAP, and Siemens. Obviously, as you see, there are also some others, but it's really about here digital insights together for your future. And they are offering trainings and webinars basically for kids, and really showing and telling them how the digital future, so to say, would look like, what you can do with the whole digitalization and stuff like that. And what I obviously very much like is that we are really joining forces here. We really see that it is important that we educate our kids in these areas, and it's really, really nice to see that we're all teaming up here together to bring the education here forward. So I was really, really happy to see that we're joining forces there. Okay, then one last thing. Another conference, this Envision conference by Microsoft and Accenture and Avanade. It is actually already the 3rd episode, so I have to admit I missed the first 2 episodes, but now in episode 3, Brad Smith is going to talk and talk about the whole data governance, privacy, security, sustainability. Trevor Noah and some others from Accenture, from LinkedIn, are presenting there. So I think it's a very interesting forum, really bringing together a lot of knowledge, a lot of skill in this event to really talk about, I think very relevant topics right now. So really, I mean, obviously we have a lot of security discussions in the latest weeks. So I think this is a very interesting one-day event, or not even. I think it's not a full day, but I think it's definitely interesting also to attend and get maybe inspired and some ideas from the keynotes here. Good. With this, I'm almost ready to hand over to Martin. Just a quick recap. So last week, Goran and Robert talked about the automation of an SAP system, how to use the runbooks to start and stop your SAP system, how to save money by changing the disks, and I think that was really interesting. I think we also got some very good feedback on this, on the scripts. Goran, you showed that these scripts are all available in this
PowerShell
gallery. Thank you. That was the word that I was looking for. So I think that's really interesting. But I think we also saw that you need to dig into the Azure portal to trigger them and stuff like that. And obviously that's not something that is really good for an end user. So that's, I think, why you teamed up with Martin on this, and Martin built a beautiful Power App on top that uses your runbooks. And so with this, I'm now really excited to have Martin back on the show to give us some more insights on the development maybe of the Power App, show us what it's all about, maybe also talk about the use cases again, because just to highlight again, I mean, this is not a product that we are selling from a Microsoft side. This is really totally available on GitHub. Anyone can use it. You don't have to use it. Obviously, there's no official support, but still, I think just looking at the internal use case that we have, or that you had actually, and the resolution, I think this resonates extremely well with other customers as well. So yeah, with this, Martin, maybe again, I think most of the audience knows you already, but still maybe you can quickly introduce yourself, and then I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thanks again for having me after the business rules we did last time, right?
Yes.
So like last week, I'm a colleague of Robert Biro, Azure Fast Track teams. We do the actual project rollouts. Yeah, so there's a customer project. It has some SAP related focus, and then we engage on making sure that it goes smoothly to production. And as part of that, we have always some nice inspirations or topics or things that we want to try out or implement. And the CDN, for instance, that you showed before, that came out of some of the first day hacking sessions that we do, when we teamed up with the 5 colleagues that we are in the SAP and Azure team, and then created the content, see what's working, what's not, and then create a blog post out of it. Yeah. So then let me share my screen, then we can dive right into it. I'd like to start with the runbook here again, because that's the interface that we needed to implement, right? When I joined the team on this, they already had the start-stop running. They were playing with the PowerShells, with the runbooks and everything, and they already started thinking about how can we make this easier accessible. And when you look at the screen for the starting, when I'm trying to run it, so there's the SID you need to provide and the parameters that Goran explained last time. So you need to like fill this somehow, yeah. And the first idea then was, let's try a logic app. Yeah, provide a trigger on the HTTP interface, and then use the built-in tasks that we have for many of the Azure services in this case, it's the automation account one, to create a job from a URL, basically. Yeah. So this is leading in the right direction, but still not very much more usable, because you need a browser or a Postman, any REST client tool where you put in a URL and then maybe think about authentication or not, and parameters that you need to fill. So good first approach, but there's room for improvement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the next thing then was, well, then let's look into Power Apps for this, so that we avoid programming a whole app around this, which would also be possible, right? So could also have an app service with UI5 or Fiori or whatever, and to implement against this interface that we have, the automation account. Yeah. So we wanted to do Power Apps then. So I'm going to give you a feeling for how easy the first option was. So we created a Canvas app on Power Apps. So I'm in a certain environment. So you put a button there to make it very large, since this is a mobile use case, yeah. And you have maybe big thumbs. And the first thing we did was there. So let's get started like this, yeah. So start button, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the next thing then is, okay, we need a flow for this.
So this is drag and drop for the dummies, right?
Yes. So then you call this start subsit, yeah. And I want to be able to call this from Power Apps. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now I'm waiting for my create. There we go. So this already connects this with my Power App environment. So I can call this from any Power App now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then I'm just going to say, well, I know I want to call this automation account that Goran prepared, and I'm going to create start stop jobs. Yeah. So I'm choosing this one. This already connected me through my connection with my Azure subscription, and it is now able to pull the data from there.
Mm-hmm. And just Martin, while this is loading, so you're not going via the logic app. So the logic app was just an example how this could have done, but now you're really doing everything, natively, so to say, with the Power Platform.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, Goran, you were about to say.
Yeah. So basically, through that connector from the Power Apps to the Azure automation account, it's easy for you to integrate and run any kind of runbooks existing into that Azure automation account, right?
Exactly.
And I mean, just since you clicked, I think the really, and that's really amazing actually. So you selected that you want to create a job. So you selected the resource group, then it showed you all the automation accounts, then it showed you all the available runbooks.
Yeah.
And with this now you also only see, or you see actually the parameters that are required for the specific runbook.
Exactly.
So I think that's really cool. Yeah.
So we came from here, from the same screen in Azure, and we were looking at a specific, those are the runbooks again, that are exposed. So we are seeing the same thing in Power Automate.
Really nice, yeah.
It's very easy. It's very easy, yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking again of the whole concept of the Power Platform. I mean, obviously the work that you have done, Goran, with the runbooks is not something that the typical end user would be able to do. You need SAP know-how. You need to know how everything works. But now you have it, and the things that Martin now is doing in the Power App, I mean, that is something that I think anyone can do.
Your kids could do it.
Yes.
It's just a drag and drop,
I'll check with them, yeah.
Well, that's the idea for the citizen developer, yeah? Mm-hmm. A person who's has a certain affinity towards technology, and they can pick this up easily. And so Goran calls them, hey, I have this automation account. There's a task on the platform. You can pick it. I gave you access to that subscription. Let's see if you can connect. And there you go. So the one thing that I need to know here, which is SAP specific, that the concept of the SIT. Yeah, so I'm putting the SIT of the system that we were using at that time, which we called our SAP lab. Yeah, so where we are doing all of our education and testing and developments. And then there are the parameters for the weighting and the converting of the disks. If I want to influence this from here or take the defaults that Goran applied, for the cost saving. Yeah. So with this, we can hit save. There's a start subset is the name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from my application here now, I'm going to say from the on select event, yeah, I want to use a Power Automate flow. So the one that we just created is this one here, start subset. This is now adding to my Power App, connecting both those two things. And it will already pre-populate the function here. And now it's asking me for parameters. Since we didn't ask for any, we can just say that's it. And I can now actually use this app to trigger the T01 startup runbook. This will work now.
Perfect. And just to, I mean, just to clarify, I mean, you hard coded one SID right now, obviously. So, but the start button will only start this one SID. But as you just mentioned, I mean, when calling the start button, you could have also added some variables that you would pass on the SID when you click this button, and then in the flow.
Right now, so we're thinking, oh, okay, this is great for our lab environment. But at some point we thought, well, if we go all in with this, why shouldn't we do this for all our systems? We have the tags that Goran and Robert introduced to flag the systems. We have APIs. We can scan everything in our subscription. So we are able to identify all systems that are tagged, and basically we can approach all of those with start stop or the snoozing approach. So, but how do we do this? Yeah? We need to parameterize this SID parameter here. So next thing you do is I'm going to ask my Power App to supply this. So this now generated a parameter. And when I refresh this, so I'm going to save the flow. My Power App here, the easiest way of making sure that the refresh works always for me is to copy this and just remove it quickly and put it back again. There's some auto refresh as well, but sometimes it's easier to just do it again.
I know what you mean, yes.
Yeah. So, and now you see, now it's asking me for the parameter.
Yeah, because the flow knows now, or the flow now expects a parameter. So in Power Automate, we have added this functionality ask for power from Power App. Yeah. Now the flow knows that it needs one additional parameter. So obviously now when we call this updated flow from Power App, it says, look, I need one additional parameter. Very nice.
Yes. So if you're now able to identify the SIDs, you can create some logic on Power Apps to supply this to the flow and have this abstracted to work with many systems and not just one.
So basically, search for the system and fill the list and let them choose. Exactly. Let them choose the system. So they don't need to edit manually anything. They are basically scanned on the fly from the Power App.
Exactly. And before we go to the functionalities, maybe let's think about giving access also to the app. So one of the first things that you then start doing is how do I share this with other people? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. I first need to save this.
Because obviously you don't want everyone at Microsoft to be able to stop your SAP systems. You only want to share this application to a certain group of people, and they then should have access to start and stop your SAP systems.
Exactly. And this is connected with Azure AD. Yeah. So any of the groups within your organization can be used to collect a number of people where you want to give access to. And in our case, we had a developer group, which we applied here. So anyone who gets added to this automatically gets access to the app. So you don't put here individual people, but you do this on a group basis. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about this is now you can also make sure that this group impacts if you are actually able to see the subsystems in your list later on when we see the app. So we're leveraging Azure AD group functionality for, so to say, for the authorization, if we're allowed to see the systems later on. And the last thing that we did on this, that was the latest post that we did, is supplying like self-service access. Yeah. So let's say you have a group of external developers, and maybe you have also demo systems, and you want to have like an automated way of giving them access to this. And you don't want to like be bombarded with emails. Can I get access to this system? Where is it? What do I need to provide to you to get it done? So we created another Power Automate flow where we have Microsoft Forms being the front end for the self-service sign-up. Yeah, so for our demo system, people can here now type some justification. And when they send this actually creates an approval in Teams. Let me quickly show that to you. So we have this integrated approval page. And I don't have any recent approvals because the environment is not the right one. MS Pro Dev. There we go. And then you get an integrated screen which shows you the request title that we created, who did that, and if anyone already approved it or if it's rejected. So for audit compliance, even you get the possibility to use this, yeah, with your Power App and the whole snoozing process.
Very
now
nice.
You have a scalable way of giving access to your demo system to arbitrary many people, but in a governed way, using Azure AD groups.
So basically, if I apply here, if I provide my justification, then you get this notification in Teams. You click on approve, or someone from your team clicks on approve, and then my user would be added to the AD group. Yeah. And then once I am in the group, because of the sharing permissions in the Power App that you had done, I would then also be able to access the Power App.
Exactly, yeah. And in the Azure portal, you have, for all of this resource that we have, this access control. And with that group, you can like influence to which resources this is applied. And we are leveraging that also for the subsystems. I can show that later on in a more detailed way. So now let's go to the fully blown app. So what we did before was only about giving you an idea how easy it is to get started once you have the runbooks prepared. Yeah. So it was really like 20 minutes to get started, and then you had the first app. So here we have the actual one that we published on GitHub with the start screen with where we check the subscriptions, the list of SIDs. Then you get the main overview with a job state, who was the last use of this, and a list of VMs and an info page. You always need something like this if someone has errors, problems, so you can submit it from here in an integrated way.
Oh, nice.
And the scheduling overview. So this is the canvas, where we edited all of this. And you see there's a couple of UI components with some logics like you saw before. So really no rocket science,
But so no rocket science, but I guess there's still a lot of work that went into this, and everything that you're showing here is published on GitHub.
Yes, all of it.
Really nice.
So, and to make it really lively, I want to do the demo from my mobile phone. So I connected it to my computer so I can show it on the Teams session, and I have a screen mirroring tool to show that. So I can control my phone now from my desktop, right? So why is the mobile app nicer as a web integration or Teams integration? We can leverage local caching. So with any tablet or any device where you run the app, you can actually store any queries that you did before. And we do that with the list of subscriptions and with the subsets. So you don't have to load them every time you open the app. That speeds up a little how you work with this.
And basically, you can also in this way have a different subscriptions or handle a different subscription through the Power App, right?
Yes, because the how this is all organized. It's on subscription basis. So you need to define on which subscriptions you want to work or where you want to scan for subsystems. Yeah? So the first thing is choosing a subscription. And then the flow that we tied to this is running to the API and asking it for all VMs that are tagged with the subsys tag that Goran invented.
Basically collecting all the SAP SIDs or SAP system automatically and filling that list. So.
Exactly. So if someone installs a new system, tags it correctly, it will automatically show up here. Yeah.
You don't need to do anything. You don't need to change anything in the app.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Really nice. Yeah.
The only thing you could now think about is the authorization. We talked about the Azure AD groups. Yeah. In case you want to separate users and you don't give me the Azure AD group, but you tagged it correctly, I will not see it here nevertheless. Yeah, because I don't have the authorizations. Yeah, we are also using the API to reflect on that. Yeah, we wanted to see if you have productive systems here, and maybe you want to avoid the developers who are using the snoozing to even see them. Yeah, even if they can't click stop on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the T01. This is now also using a flow to check the latest job state. So it's going to the automation account and checking what's the latest job that was run. Yeah, and now tells me the latest thing that was done was a start. Yeah, so we see here Roman, who was the last person who finished the start, but then stopped the system in the meantime. No? So there are no minutes left. Let's see what we have on the S4 system. Who was the last person here?
And as you said, with big buttons, so that it's easy to click on them even.
Yeah. So this one I started some time ago. You see, it's I like claimed it for a couple of hours. So it tells me there's like a couple of minutes left. And when you interact with this, we incorporate an automatic stop. Because this is the one thing we learned during the implementation. People tend to forget to stop the systems. So you have the nicest snoozing mechanism, all of it's all there, but people don't use it because they forget.
So you were showing in that calendar. So basically this is additional functionality on the top, which is not in the backend, where each user can go and reserve a system and say, I'm reserving from this date and this time and ending at another date and another time. Right.
Well, we get there, Goran. That's on the calendar. Yeah. But this is for like on demand. I want to hit start stop right now. But you can only hit start stop with a given automatic stop number here.
Perfect.
Yeah. So there's no way around forgetting now because you need to supply a number. Yeah.
Nice.
Then the next thing that we have is a list of VMs applied or like associated with that SID. In this case, you see there are two web dispatchers and the HANA, which contains also the central services. So that's like a typical two-tier setup, yeah. And there's the button to check if the VM state changed at some point, yeah. So you see, I didn't check this for a while. Now you saw that I'm running this, but those things show red. But when this finishes now, the ASDS will go to indefinitely. But I think the web dispatchers will stay on red because we put them off the automation there.
Okay,
so let's give this a quick second before we move along. Oh, they're all green, you see?
Everything is green. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So now off to the calendar that Goran mentioned. So this is a native widget provided by Power Apps. I didn't do anything about it. Yeah. So you get all the typical functionality that you're used to from Office 365. You can navigate dates. There's this button to jump to the today. Yeah, you navigate the months and years, and you get those small bubbles to show you that there were there are events. Yeah. So here we see there's a system claimed by Roman for a lot of hours since this morning, and another one also this morning. Yeah, from 9:37 for 60 minutes. And here you can like delete those claims, and up top here you can create one. And the idea of this is not to stop on demand, but already like claiming the system in advance. Because I know next week I'm going to have a demo, or I'm going to give a course or anything. So I want to reserve it for me so no one else gets it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then you supply the time you want to start and for how long. And to avoid people claiming it for weeks, we provide only 10 hours. Yeah. And then there are flows again who pick up the entries, the events from the calendar, and regularly check if a new date is due, and then start them automatically.
Mm-hmm. So just to recap, so when I create such a claim for tomorrow at 10 a.m. for 3 hours or whatever, then once I submit this claim, then a runbook would be scheduled to start the SAP system tomorrow at 10 a.m. and shut it down then after 3 hours or something like that.
Exactly. So maybe let's do that for right now. Let's schedule something for we have 14. So there's UTC. So because there's some time zone challenges, yeah. So in our case, that means I'm putting 1 p.m. although we have 2 in Germany already. So let's put there 20, and let's say we want this for half an hour. Yeah. So I'm hitting the plus button here. This is now checking if there's already an event scheduled and there's overlap. And if that's the case, it's going to tell me you can't. Yeah. Which just happened. There's a create denied because someone else is running the system right now. Yeah. And you can't claim it for that time frame. Yeah. Yeah. So there's already quite some logic in there, so that multiple people can work with this in parallel. Yeah. Without conflicting with each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we even get this to see on the calendar. So I put it here. So what we see right now, we have the systems claimed.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can actually see here. And if you get really crazy, you could start deleting those events. And when they haven't started yet, the scheduling, the runbook wouldn't pick it up, because it's actually scanning this calendar on real time, and once the date or the time approaches, it then starts.
But only you have access to this, or could you now delete the claim from Roman?
Well,
I mean, you are the admin, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
But that's one of
if you're a friend with Martin.
Yeah. I need to buy you a beer.
But yeah, that's a governance topic, Holger. You're right.
Yeah.
No? You need to think about this then. Who has access to that group, and where do you put this, and how powerful you let the developers or the people who use this become? Yeah.
But actually, I just looking at this screen, I think this already shows one of the really, really powerful things, because typically in an environment where you have demo systems running, since you don't know when someone needs the system, these demo systems probably run 24/7. And now here you can see that this FS1 system or whatever it is, it's like started 3 times this week. And I guess you're doing pay as you go. So I think you're really, really saving a lot of money there, simply by having shut down the systems most of the time. But still, if I want to do a demo, if I need to do a demo tomorrow, I can schedule the system. I know the system is up and running at that time. So for me, it's ideal. I think this is really a beautiful solution for end user, for any customer, I guess, or any partner.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah. And since this happens all in the background, we provide Teams messages, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when we go here, we have the Flowboard integration, and you can see here from the messages that I have in my feed.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. A little further down. For instance, when the shutdown time approaches, then 30 minutes before the actual shutdown appears, you get a message, asking you, hey, are you actually done? Do you want to extend? Because what happened to us when we had this automatic stop, we had implementations or like education sessions going on, and we really got stuck with something and we wanted to solve it. Then the shutdown approach, oh no, what are we going to do now? So we thought about having this feature, which was also very easy to add. And now you can just click a button and it will give me another hour, but only if there's no claims system afterwards. Yeah.
But so is this also published on GitHub, this functionality?
Yes.
And you can also, Martin, I don't know if you plan to show, you can trigger start from here through the bot or stop.
That's also true. We can go there. I quickly wanted to show the adaptive cards that we had. So if you schedule a session and you see it on the calendar, obviously, but you also get a message that your start was initiated automatically in the background, to give you some peace of mind. Is it going? Do I need to do something here? And with every button click here, you get then a reflection that something happened. Yeah, and we also have a see you soon. Yeah, when the extension was accepted.
Really nice. That's really just amazing what you have done there.
And Goran wanted to see the start stop from Teams. So let me quickly go to my channel there.
So basically, Martin extended the functionality, the backend functionality, right? I mean, one way is just to, scan the system, show it, click it, start and stop, which is just another UI. Nicer UI than the Azure portal. But another part is this reservation and approval and who can do it, this is additional functionality which comes basically with this Power Apps layer, which is nice.
And when we shared this first, we heard from the GBV team and from other people in the community that the first thing they did was having a Teams channel where they just put the name start and stop. Yeah. And
it's a global belt teams for
exactly.
SAP global belts inside of Microsoft. Yeah.
And I like that approach as well. It's very similar to what we saw on the Logic app or the very first starting, stopping just one system, where you're not thinking so much about the governance and all the things, but getting a snoozing effort very easily going. And what they did then, and we replicated this here, just put a text, free text, start and stop into this feed, and we have then Power Automate scan this regularly. And when it picks up the start text here, it's actually going to trigger the same flows that we saw before, which we created with the automation account, and hit the same functionality and also start the system.
Really fantastic. And I mean, I again like this overall concept. I mean, you have the logic in the runbooks where you have basically an API. And then it doesn't matter whether you control these APIs from the Azure portal, like what Goran showed us last week, or whether you schedule it from the Power App or here from Teams. And then again, I think that's what I've been preaching, or what I think all of us have been preaching all the time. It's not so much what user interface you are using. It really depends on the context that you're coming from. So if I'm currently in Teams, then I want to be able to start the system from Teams. If I'm in a Power App, then I'll do this. If I'm currently on a mobile device, possibly if I'm using an SAP Fiori user interface right now, then maybe at some point in time there will be an SAP Fiori, or you could even integrate your Power App in a Fiori Launchpad or something like that to trigger. So to really help the end user access or perform the tasks that the end user is really looking, but from within the context that he's currently working on or she's currently working on. So really fantastic. That's really nice.
So we should make Goran very happy now because he's always bugging me about Power Apps in Teams. So then let's give him what he wants.
So it's just for the happiness of community,
So we created an app before, and we gave it the stupid name app, which was with that one button to start, So we're adding this now with a couple of clicks to this channel. This is now loading, and you see that start button.
Beautiful.
So that's all it takes, to get going in the snoozing effort. So that leaves us, we went through the different screens here. Okay, my phone. Yeah, identify me, there we go. So we went through the different features that we have, automatic scanning, and the systems are only listed based on the group you're part of and assigned to the VMs. Yeah? So to make sure that there's some governance. You can check what state the automation jobs are in, who was the last person to use it, especially if you want to check with that person, well, can you maybe stop earlier? What are you doing? Can we talk to give you more transparency what's going on? You get to see what kind of VMs are attached to this, what tags they have. Now you see this is a HANA system and the central services combined. Mm-hmm. It's running in North Europe. Yeah. And the scheduling to make sure that multiple people working at this in parallel don't conflict with each other. Yeah.
Really fantastic. And again, let me highlight, I mean, all of this is available on GitHub.
Yeah.
The Runbooks from Goran are accessible. The Power App is accessible. So even if I'm saying, well, that's great, but I want to make it more specific to my organization, well, you have the Power App, or you can use the Power App. You can enhance it. You can change the user interface. You can maybe apply your corporate identity to it. So I think that's really, really fantastic.
Yeah. There's the link to the GitHub repo that we saw last week as well. Mm-hmm. Here we have the zip file, which is the packaged Power App, including all the flows that are connected to it. Mm-hmm. But since the sign-up flow for the self-service for the users to register, or the timer-based starting and notification, they are not connected to the app. That's why they are separate. Yeah. Yeah. Because the Power App doesn't know they run in parallel on a timely basis to check on calendar events or pre-scheduled starts. Yeah. And everything that we thought you might need to understand what's going on, we provide here. The most important thing to track state on the Power App is this table storage, which you need to create up front. Yeah, there are some configurations because we leverage some of those configuration parameters a lot in the iFlow and the Power Automate flows. So you don't need to maintain them redundantly. And if you change something, they don't have to touch all the flows. Yeah? You just do it here once, and then you're done. Yeah.
Really nice.
And I've definitely left some bugs in there, I'm sure.
Perfect. Thank you for everyone to discover and then fix. No, I mean it's really great, and this is not an official product. This is really a community effort, or I mean, provided by you for others to use. So I think that's really amazing. So really great.
So it shows the power of easy integration inside of the Azure A, and B, power of Teams integration inside of the Microsoft Teams, meaning to different teams working together, fast track and the cloud SAP on Azure Cloud Advisory team where I belong. So it's really great for the benefits of customers or partners or internal community as well, which they use.
But that's how you get inspired, right? You have exchange with your colleagues, and then you think, wait, we could do this in a different way, or did we think about this? Shall we try this? Yeah.
Really and people are using, so meaning giving also feedback, giving a suggestion. Of course, you can't never know until you start to really use it, you know, and that's really great. So it's a real thing being used.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you very much, Martin. I think that was a fantastic overview, and I think a beautiful conclusion also to Goran, what you have done and created there last week, or showed last week. I think this is really a beautiful one Microsoft project, I would even say. Yeah. And even better that it is available on GitHub. So check it out, give it a try, download it. as I think most of you know, Martin is very responsive if you leave a comment under his blog or something like that. So really give it a try, everyone. Take a look at this. And again, I'm convinced that there's so many benefits in this solution. So I think it's really amazing. Good. Then
and now we snooze into the weekend, right?
We snooze in the weekend. Yeah, almost. There's a few calls left,
Yeah.
but almost, yeah. No, great. Martin, thank you very much for joining this week. I think we have you on next week as well. So with something completely different, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, but then, as you said, thanks again for joining. Thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe and have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye.